to the different chambers in the area, going to trade shows. I'm now vice president of that business, and I'm proud to be standing here, not embarrassing the two of them today. Went to UCLA. For all you gauchos, don't hold it against me. It was my dream to play football at UCLA, and I was blessed with an opportunity to do that. I worked on the coaching staff for a little while before I was offered an opportunity to go work for a senior member of Congress. Kind of jumped in head first into the deep end. Learned all I could, and the issues I dealt with were foreign policy. I helped run the U.S.-Turkish Relations Caucus. I led a delegation to the Republic of Turkey. I was down on the Syrian border. As many of you know, there's a serious crisis going on there. It was interesting to see that firsthand. I did small business issues, commerce, manufacturing and trade, agriculture, a number of different areas, a lot of things that really affect my background in our community here. But it was my job essentially to meet with people, to listen to their concerns, to evaluate the policy, work to build better policy, and then move that policy through the House of Representatives. But it was there that I saw really how screwed up Congress is today and the political system that we have. I mean, a lot of the things that many of you are concerned about, the fact that there's so many political insiders who will say and do whatever it takes for the purpose of winning elections. You see a lot of empty rhetoric with very little action. There's a mindset that exists with these folks that are more concerned about winning their next election than policies that affect this and the next generation. Many of the faces that we see here, all of us. It's just as bad as you think. I got so frustrated with what I saw when I was back there. I ultimately ended up resigning. I moved back here full time, began to take over our family's business. But I recognize this, that if you don't get involved with the government you have, you're going to get the government you deserve. And it's necessary in our type of governance that we take action, that we get involved, that we have people that are serving us in Congress that care more about the next 10 years or 20 years from now than they do their next election, that are working to bring 21st century policies and modernizing the institution that exists, and that bring long-range solutions to the problems that we face moving forward. And so that's what drives me every day. I'm motivated to represent my home community in Washington, D.C., to work to develop a structure and policies that make Congress more functional, that are more focused on solving problems than the political rhetoric, that improve the future for our country and for the next generation. But it takes all of us to be a part of this to make this happen. I'm only standing here today because of many of the supporters that we've been able to build and to develop. Everyone has skin in the game. That's ultimately how we're going to be successful and how we're going to get Congress working again for us. If you want to contribute to the campaign, we need as many financial investments as possible to be able to get our message out to people who aren't in this room today. I don't know if Rachel is here. Is Rachel here?
There she is.
See Rachel, if you want to do that, if you haven't already done so. Many of you have, and thank you very much for that. We all really do appreciate that. We need people knocking on doors to get our message out there. And if you can and you're willing to volunteer and to knock on doors to get our message out to voters throughout the Central Coast. See Brian here. Brian's helping out. And if you want to write an opinion editorial into the newspaper to be able to help us spread the message, see Christiana, she's right there. That's how you can help our mission and our campaign to do this. And it does make a difference. So I want to say thank you to everyone who is here. That I am very optimistic that with all of our engagement in this, we can and we will make a difference. They're already calling us. We got Javier here from the LA Times. Hey Javier, he's written some articles. They're calling this the most hotly contested open seat in the state of California, one of the top 5 nationally. So there's an opportunity where us as residents in our community and the future, there's not a single voice, to all of you here, there's not a voice under the age of 30 representing the future of our country in Congress. I'm proud to say that 3 of the youngest members of Congress have endorsed my campaign. The youngest woman ever elected to Congress, she's 31 years old, one in a similar seat like this in New York, is endorsed and is actively helping. We got 2 others, another one from New York, Lee Zeldin, and Carlos Curbelo from Miami. I really think the next generation of policymakers and leaders are going to make a tremendous impact in the direction that we head in. So I'm optimistic that we can make it happen, but the only way it's going to happen is if we're all actively involved and we all take action in this. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your willingness to support the campaign and the mission that we're on. And I want to promise you this, that I have unwavering focus to get this done. And my goal is this, 10 years from now, I want you to look back and be able to say that I helped Justin get to Congress, and that was the day that we got that place working again. So God bless you and God bless America. Enjoy the food, hang out for as long as you want. I'm not going to leave here until I've answered any question that anyone has and had any conversation that we need to have before you go. So I'll be the last one out. All right, guys.
Thank you. Can I ask you this, Justin? What can you do in Congress to stop the baloney that goes on between the members of the House of Representatives that prevents anything from getting done?
Sure. And a lot of this goes back to, and I'll take a couple questions if you guys want to do it that way. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
So the question he asked is, what am I going to do to stop the baloney that exists between either side and getting anything done? This race, to me, has never been about red or blue, Republican or Democrat, but really the vision that will move us forward in a positive direction, or the status quo that is going to keep us moving in this current direction, which a lot of people I speak with are concerned about. It's going to happen through systemic reform. Congress's main basic functions are budgeting and oversight of taxpayer dollars. It's essentially run on autopilot now because the mindset of the political insiders and many career politicians is winning the next election rather than the policies that affect all of us. It's my objective to change the budget structure to go to that of a 2-year budget structure so that there's better oversight and management and a greater emphasis on where the discourse takes place, which is called the authorizations process. That's where you could have that conversation, the debate, see where things are working and not working, separate the bad from the good, be able to update things so that they're up to date with today's national priorities, today's technology, and that's where it's ultimately going to happen. So it's going to have to happen through systemic reform. This is not a novel idea. It's something when I was working back there, we worked to push. Some of the most solvent municipal bodies are on a 2-year system. There's over 20 states that are on it. There's, Goleta, where I live now, is on a 2-year system, one of the most solvent municipal governments that we have in the county. So there's that, and frankly, it's all of our responsibility to demand accountability for those that we wish to represent us there. And so in my first, I ran for this seat once in 2014. It was my first time. I just went for it. And I came within 0.5% of advancing. And we had about 38% turnout here. So 38% of the people who were registered to vote actually voted. It's our job to demand accountability and to say this is what we want. And if we don't get involved, if we're not engaged in the process, then we allow the political insiders to win.
Good.
Yes.
What are you going to do about the cybersecurity that's going on? We're in danger of the electricity grid being hacked into. What do you propose that you do?
That's a good question. So her question is, what are you going to do about cybersecurity? A lot of people, although there's a number of different wars that are taking place. I mean, you look at Syria and what's happening in Iraq and that region, you have a number of different proxy wars. You have a bunch of people fighting each other that aren't necessarily on one team. But most people predict in the 21st century, modern warfare is going to happen through cyber attacks. That's where having mobility in the government to have the best and the state-of-the-art technology to counteract any type of hacking that's happening from any other state or independent entity or group. And that's another important process because Congress's responsibility is funding those types of things for the executive branch. This is, again, when we talk about the foundational reform of budgetary reform, we have a better ability to allocate resources to ensure that we're protected that way.
There's so many people in Congress and in the Senate that don't know anything about the new technology.
I think that's where I could
That's why
add
this
some
is a
value.
good idea. You know, we need you.
I appreciate that very much. Tell all your friends that. People are sometimes more likely to get involved and active, to contribute financially, to vote for somebody, to get them engaged if they hear it from a friend or a family member, a colleague, a fraternity brother, a sorority sister. So to keep that in mind. You know, we can grow organically, and the only reason that we're in a position where we can be successful is because of that model in our campaign. So again, I owe that all to all of you in this room.
I just want to support what you just said, because in Casa Dorinda, I was talking about you today, and one of the residents just handed me a check to the mail.
Oh, is that right?
There you go.
Well, I hope you brought it tonight. Well, don't do that. Thank you, Francis. Does anyone else have questions, or we want to get to food? Kind of mingle around. Sound good? All right. Thank you.
Why would you
Is that all right?
think it's just drinking water?
Really did. It was my first one. I've never been one of those before, and
They're pretty fun.
they're getting better.
As long as you go in with a positive attitude, they're pretty fun. I guess I went to one of the Foundry last year, just a couple years ago, because we did it on the campaign.
Are you the resident photographer?
They're always, I mean, as far as campaign, definitely.
It's kind of yeah. Some people find it weird, but like, I don't know. I like it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There's so many angles. I like when the Ventura County Fair is
Oh yeah.
and I think it's absolutely fascinating the angles we get. Something that is gigantic and with tiny,
Yeah.
whatever was. Totally agree.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can get on film. I haven't got into that, but I would love. I love that. I have some friends that do it.
I heard that some people like to do black and white better than color because I don't know. Maybe it's
Yeah. Well, it's just a different type of.
it gives you a different perspective, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I grew up with non-color TV set myself.
I hear you.
I can remember when I was a kid.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too.
Oh, excuse me.
Shut out for valve while I was in the car, completely drenched me. Spanish.
Okay, I'll figure it out.
Meaning like a lot of work. I hired like a whole new crew last year, and so they're like really good at
Yeah, I haven't posted anything. No,
They've been locked up. Currently.
Oh, sorry. God, my bad. Bumped right into you.
There's no reason to support everything. We didn't provide the opportunity. But the fact that sold me, it's way easier for everybody. It sold me on this thing for $1.
I can just take that.
But we do have
I can literally just like.
If you like that,
The best one.
so put like blocks of files in her lap.
I would say like nobody got this guy comes in and
Hey, what's going on, George? Thanks for coming up. Nice to see you. There he is. Mr. Duffy. How you doing? Appreciate you coming by.
You actually, my house is like right up there. So see you guys all the time.
Hop, skip, and What's my favorite newest song of the day? Good enough. Thank you.
not even a day planner, not even a day
Yeah. I can't say how much I enjoyed working. I actually shared that with
How are you feeling? I'm good. Excuse me. Sorry.
Pass to the front of here.
Perfect. All right. All right. I see my quarter. Oh yeah. Where's Vinny? We gotta get him out here. I know. He's all about Cool. Was that right? Awesome. I'll come by with Totally. My phone's always kind of screwed up. Support you. Come by. I don't want to take too long.